How blue am I?
In today's video, we'll be showing you how to apply a new antifoul over your existing antifoul whilst trying to achieve a good final look and a nice clean waterline. Whether you've done this before or are tackling it for the first time, we're hoping this video helps you understand in simple terms how to antifoul yourself. I mean, if our colleague Max can do it, anyone can. Before you get started, here's what you'll need. Personal protection equipment or PPE, such as gloves, goggles or glasses, overalls, masks or some sort of facial protection, tools such as sandpaper and scrapers, masking tape, rollers, brushes, paint trays, mixing sticks, tarpaulins or dust sheets. Finally, you will need your choice of paints and antifouls. Max has opted for Antifoul Tiger Extra, which is one of the most popular antifoul products that we sell and is great for high fouling areas. Alongside the antifoul paint, you may also need a below the water primer, such as Antifoul's Underwater Primer. After your boat comes out of the water, cleaning the hull with a pressure washer is a great way to get rid of the barnacles or peeling or flaky paint. Luckily, this service was provided at the Portside Marina when the boat was lifted out. If you haven't got access to this service or a pressure washer, you can achieve a similar result with a sponge and scraper. The next step is to mark the waterline using masking tape. This leaves a clear waterline, leaving a professional finish and gives you a starting and finishing point on where to antifoul. When applying tape over old antifoul, it's easy to mark the waterline because it is essentially already there. Carefully follow the existing line with your masking tape as shown by Max here. Max opted for the 3M Blue Scotch Painter's Tape. It's a great choice for antifouling because it doesn't degrade in direct sunlight, peels off easily, and leaves a professional looking finish. Before sanding, it's important to put a dust sheet or tarpaulin below the areas you are sanding. This is to prevent any further spreading of the dust or old antifoul. Now it is time to sand the entire surface of the hull. This is typically done with 80 to 120 grit sandpaper. It is recommended to wet sand the hull. Not only does this further protect you from inhaling toxic antifoul dust, but also helps you for an easier cleanup. When wet sanding, we used a small spray bottle to spray onto the hull. You don't need to drench it in water, but get it just wet enough so that the dust doesn't fly off the surface. If you have a large surface area to sand, you could also use an orbital sander. However, the goal when applying over old antifoul is to provide a rough surface for the new antifoul to mechanically stick to. You are not removing the old antifoul completely, unless the old antifoul is in a poor condition. Once the sanding has been completed, use a damp cloth to clean the hull and pick up dust left on the surface. If it's left on there, it can interfere with the new antifoul sticking to the surface effectively. For areas left without antifoul, showing a bare surface as seen here, you will need to apply the underwater primer to cover these areas. This promotes adhesion, it seals the surface, and helps protect against osmosis on fiberglass hulls. Now it's time to start antifouling. Open your tin and stir thoroughly. This allows the biocides and pigments to come together evenly. Pour a small amount onto your tray and begin rolling the paint onto the hull using thin and even coats. A top tip is to try not to work in massive areas all at once. Maintain some sort of small section to complete before moving on. It's also important that you don't overload the roller or brush. Too much paint can lead to drips or uneven application. Thinner coats will always allow the antifoul to cure more effectively. For areas that are more awkward to paint effectively with a roller, you can also use a brush. It is important to read the manufacturer's instructions on how long to leave the antifoul before applying the next coat. For example, we are using Antifoul Tiger Extra, which you need to leave for 10 hours at 10 degrees or 5 hours at 20 degrees before you apply the next coat. As it was quite cold on the day we applied the antifoul, we waited until the next day to apply the second coat. When you've finished applying the antifoul to the hull and the paint is still slightly tacky, remove the masking tape. We then moved on to the legs. Just like the hull, we did not need to sand them back to the bare surface as they weren't in bad condition. Therefore, we did not need to prime them. You need a specialist type of antifoul to use on props and other areas that are metal. So for this purpose we used the Antifoul Aluprop NCT and applied using a standard paintbrush. Remember to always tape over your anodes. Antifouling over them will interfere with the anodes working effectively. We applied 2 coats of the Antifoul Aluprop NCT and waited a full 24 hours before applying the second coat. This was due to the weather being relatively cold. Once we'd finished the legs, it was time for Max to admire his hard work and get Pippa back in the water. We hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.